When do we call time on a celebrity? Today I have Shayan Ali.
Hey. Cameras.
And J.P.Gifford, formerly known as Jordan. And I...
Formerly known as Jordan. Yeah.
And I am Lissi Simpson.
What? Lissi Simpson what?
Okay. So, with surviving R. Kelly calling for the boycott of his music in January, and again just recently leaving Neverland calling for the boycott of Michael Jackson, superfans have risen up against these shows, pointing out that both stars have walked away from sexual abuse cases multiple times. The compelling evidence makes it pretty damning. However, when do we separate the performer from the human being, and can we admire the performer and hate the man, or do we have to always hold them in both in the same regards, the same way?
I mean, firstly, I love that they said that they defended themselves multiple times. That's not a good thing.
Yeah.
Like, if you've been accused multiple times,
I'm guilty.
I feel like something's wrong. They're like, oh, he was found. Hey, he was accused before. Like that. Like that's not. Okay, yeah.
I mean, that's true, but he did walk away.
Yeah,
both of them walked away. Michael Jackson walked away twice.
Yeah, multiple times.
I don't know how many times R. Kelly's been.
Well, I was thinking about this the other day. Like, I've been hearing jokes about him pissing on people since I was about 12.
Yeah.
That's a good 13 years.
Yeah.
So I feel like it's been going on a while.
Yeah. I mean.
But yeah, fine.
Allegedly.
Yeah.
Allegedly pissing.
Okay, but talking. Okay, well, obviously talking about that, obviously, because that's the point of this. But it's happened before as well. People like Elvis.
I mean, that's true. Yeah.
Elvis
married.
15.
He started dating Priscilla when she was
14. 14 or 15, and he was what, late 20s.
Yeah, like 25
and people were
or
like,
something.
"That's fine."
That's what they call a sign of the times.
Yeah.
But were you a fan of his, despite having heard all the... You were a fan of R. Kelly's, despite...
Oh, right. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Elvis.
No.
Is there a difference?
Despite having heard...
No, that's my point. That's my point, is that I feel like you have to, because...
You have to what?
You have to separate the person from the art.
The art.
I think you kind of do, because it's kind of... I mean, I say this, like, I probably wouldn't, like... But I feel like you should. Because it's not necessarily the same thing. Like, yeah, because it can happen in other walks of life. Like, if, for example, I don't know, like a paid holiday or something like that. That was introduced by probably the most evil man on the planet. But would you complain about paid holiday? See what I mean? No, you don't.
I'm not entirely sure.
Okay, right. Hitler introduced a paid holiday.
Right. Okay.
So are you never going to take a paid holiday again because it was introduced by someone who's evil? Do you see my point? Is that can you not appreciate something just because the person who did it?
But I feel like that's become something completely separate. I think it's quite different when it's an artist, because you're never going to hear Thriller and not think of Michael Jackson. No matter how many people...
You paid holiday, you're going to be like, oh, mate, Hitler.
Oh, Hitler, man. Love that shit.
Keep it podcast sensitive. Right, there's going to be like chances for so many like bloopers of you sounding really bad. Were you a fan of R. Kelly's growing up?
Not particularly, no.
Were you a fan of Michael Jackson?
I mean, who wasn't, right? Like, yeah. I mean, not. I wouldn't say a super fan, but I do know a lot of my friends growing up. Like, one of my closest friends from childhood was like absolutely idolizes Michael to the point where like he was known as the Michael Jackson in school.
Wow.
The Michael Jackson.
Yeah. But I mean, I've been trying to sort of like get back in touch with him, like, because he's in like Pakistan. But I want to know what he thinks. But like from stuff that I've seen on Facebook, people are in utter denial. In obviously in the wake of the whole documentary and whatnot. But I wasn't a super fan, so I feel like I'm personally able to step back and be like, yeah, that was kind of messed up. So until I mean, I've watched a bit of the documentary. I've not watched the whole thing, but the amount of detail that they're going into in the documentary just feels like
of Leaving Neverland.
Leaving Neverland, yeah, that one. Just feels like that's a lot of detail to just be coming out of nowhere.
Yeah. Because the thing about it as well is
have you seen it?
Yes, I've seen that one. I haven't seen the R. Kelly one.
You've seen the Living Neverland?
Yeah.
I've seen the interview that R. Kelly had with.
Yeah, that's madness.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, that's absolute madness. And
I keep
that's
saying
the one that
this,
hurts me.
but if you ever needed a moment to not look like you beat up black women,
Yeah.
that was he had that moment, and he had his ship, and he was steering, and he could see the storm, and he went.
That's where I want to go.
He went, screw it, I'm in.
You know what I mean?
And stood up and threw his weight around in front of a black woman, and it's like, well, okay.
Iceberg.
The thing as well, the worst. It's that like even if someone had credibility before then, it's like you coming out and you argue in a credible case. He lost that as soon as he kind of did that interview and just went mad. Because now the thing is, if you're trying to think about like R. Kelly defending himself, you're all just going to think of that. And it's not. It's
that
not.
Picture, right? That picture.
Oh God, yeah.
That absolutely went viral.
Him crying and screaming that he doesn't use hog ties and.
Because what was he going on about? He was talking about how something to do with a dungeon.
He said something really weird about you think that I take people's daughters and I don't let them out unless their uncle calls me up. I was like, no one said anything about that.
That sounds terrifyingly specific.
Why are you adding details?
Well, I've been saying that.
It's like the stuff you do as a kid, and like, hey, mom, don't go to the kitchen. I'm definitely not.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
Okay, that's a surprising amount of detail. You're telling me that's not happened.
But this has really bored me though, because I did love Space Jam, and you can't think of Space Jam without I Believe I Can Fly.
Yeah.
And then I listened to that about a day before this all dropped. So like, because I had a gig the day after the whole R. Kelly thing kind of dropped.
Yeah.
Right.
And then after that gig, it was everyone, that was all they're talking about, was just R. Kelly being like charged with like 6 or 8 counts, and it was like, and everyone there was like die-hard R. Kelly fans. But when we actually talked about this, like whether or not you can separate, and every single one of them that I would talk to, was about 5 or 6 comedians there, were all like, I'll never listen to them again. I've taken them off my playlist. Loads of people have just taken them off the playlist already.
But
did you go on. Sorry. For me, it's like, because I've not been like a super fan of either of those two, I don't have trouble removing them from my playlist.
Yeah, I can see that.
Having said that, I also understand when you've like, because I know there are people out there that have based their entire like life and careers and inspirations on like stuff that these people have done. Yeah. Right? And for that to break down means that your entire ethos that you've built yourself up on has broken down. Yeah. And it is like your world turning upside down in a sense. So I'm not saying it's right for them to keep on listening to their idols, but it's like it's gonna take time for them to realize their denial. Yeah. If that makes sense. Because I feel like it's difficult to not be able to separate. Like, I feel like the art and the artist in this case are interlinked. And if stuff about the artist has come out that is super, super, like, a big no-no, then the art that they've done as a result of it should also be condemned. Because my reasoning is, say I don't know, say you're in a club, for example, or whatever, any sort of like any situation where music can be played, right? Yeah. You have someone listening to Michael Jackson, and then they're like, oh yeah, this is pretty cool. Oh, I love Michael Jackson. And then in the same room, you have someone who's like a potential victim. Right. Right? Like, or someone who is a victim who still sees that this person who's abused them, like, allegedly, or
even just just someone who's been abused. Yeah.
In general, yeah.
It's what Michael Jackson represents to them.
Whether they're a direct sort of like a victim of the artist or a victim regardless, like of abuse. Yeah. They would listen to that and see, like, they wouldn't be able to separate the art and the artist. Yeah. So why would you have them go through it? Yeah. Through that trauma. Yeah.
So you do think that people shouldn't listen to Michael Jackson anymore?
Yeah, I mean, and I'm not sure. I'm not sure where the case is right now with whether like I know the documentary's out. Yeah. But it is still. I know the Jackson family still sort of being like, hey, this is like a bit. So it's still all.
They've kind of gone against.
Yeah.
I've forgotten his name. Wade Robson.
Yeah.
And James something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and he's kind of stuck to the line that he had repressed things and that he was constantly living in the fear of, like...
Well, the thing is, that's 100% possible. Because, like, just think about the Me Too movement. Like, there were so many women who couldn't come forward because they knew if they did, they would basically just ruin their careers. If you're 7 years old and you're told by someone, don't tell, don't tell. If you tell, people will judge you. People will think this of you. People will hurt both of us. You it doesn't matter what age you are. You'll still have. That's like the age where you're getting shaped. As a person.
But also, it's like it's at least like the bit of Leaving Neverland that I saw.
Yeah.
It felt like. It wasn't just don't tell. It was like, hey, this is like our cool club, like, you know, like.
So it's like major manipulation.
They felt sad when everything was going on, even though it was also happening to them, and they didn't want it to happen to them, just because he's Michael Jackson and he's a performer and he's got like this mad, like glow. People viewed him like he was a god.
Well, that's part of the problem as well, which is part of the problem of the whole thing is that, and it goes kind of onto what you were saying about separating them. The reason that people can't is because we have this crazy age where people now want to know the person as well as the eyes, if you get what I mean. Like, they want to feel close to them. Yeah. See what I mean?
Yeah.
And because you have that...
Tweet them and...
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Everyone wants to be kind of part of the story. And the problem is now that's caused so much trouble in stuff like this because it feels like you know that person. Yeah. So then they're going to be like, defending them because, like, I'm part of their story, I'm their fan base, I know them, they wouldn't do this kind of idea. So you have that, and they're so encamped in believing that when you show them facts that say the other side, then they do it, they're just like, no, that's not true. When you think of the pillar that Michael Jackson had, like he was going from the 60s up until he died in 2009, and pretty much by the end of the 80s, he didn't really have to release anything ever again. No. And people would have still hounded the man. Yeah. I mean, they did. Yeah.